Start out with a student panel. So that's the first hour. The second hour, we have a guest speaker, Professor Vince Maybert, and he'll be talking about supply chain in the second half of the class. You get about 10 minutes break in between the two sessions. I also wanted to make sure, sometimes it's hard for you to stay in touch with what is being discussed, what really are the key points that I should take away. So what we would be doing is we would be writing as the panel is in progress. I want you to at least jot down 3 things that you would take away from the panel, and also 3 things that you would take away from the presentation by Professor Maybert. You need to write your name. Don't forget to write your name. Sometimes students forget that and return it back. Okay. I'm also passing the attendance sheet, so I'm here only to say things like maybe I'm going to pass it on over to the student panel. They can introduce themselves, and I can probably move on to the next slide whenever you guys want me to.
We'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. I'm Nick Stoffregen. I'm a sophomore, the only one here. But right now, I'm currently a sophomore studying finance and BEP. Not really sure what I want to go into, but this summer I'll be working in investment management in New York City.
I'm Jessica Fleck, and I'm a senior. I majored in finance and international business, and will be graduating in May. I interned in investment banking, and that is not what I'm going into after graduation.
I'm Jack McCarthy. I'm a senior. I'm a BEP major. What else did you say?
I don't know.
And I think
What you're
also,
doing with your life.
yeah, next year I'm going to work in management consulting in Chicago.
I'm Stewart. I'm a senior, also marketing and international business, and I'm going to be doing medical device sales next year in Florida. Be jealous. So,
I am. I'm Kara Findley. I'm also a senior. I studied marketing and international business. I studied abroad in Denmark, and I'm going into email marketing software in Indianapolis this summer.
So the overall plan is that it's kind of an unstructured panel, but they would be talking a little bit about each one of these bullets and let them take over. Nick, you can moderate.
Sure. Basically, we kind of shaped today's discussion around. It was very informal. Feel free to ask questions at any time. It's really just structured from our own experiences and things that we think you really would want to know about both what we thought about before going to India, during the trip, and then especially afterwards, kind of how your perceptions change and just how what you're going to observe there is really tangible to what you're doing here at Kelley in the next 4 years. Do you want to start off? The first bullet point really is how I plan to make a difference, and the basic idea behind it is just going there and seeing a different perspective. Did you want to talk more about that?
sure, yeah. For me, anyway, so I'm from Northwest Indiana, Portage, go Indians, and I had never been out of this country until sophomore year when I was in sophomore block, and we went to sophomore block. We went to India. It's early for seniors, guys. Give me a minute here. No, so that was the first time I'd even been out of the country, and I was really excited. And when I got there, it just absolutely changed my perspective on things. For somebody who'd rarely been out of Indiana, let alone leaving the country, let alone going to India, it was just the most incredible opportunity, and it really did change my perspective on so many things. Just the fact that, there's an entirely, the differences there are so just
Stark.
yes. It's like you were saying about somebody earlier when we were talking was talking about how it's a world of contrast. So you leave here where you've got pretty much whatever you want whenever you want it, and you go there where it's just gosh, I am not being very articulate, but it's just very it's almost painful how much the poverty level is and how just different everything is. It's a completely new experience, and it absolutely changed my life as far as knowing what to look at with professional things and with personal things. So I'm gonna toss it off for someone a little more articulate.
When you're going on there, you're going to be doing these journal entries, and really, with sleep deprivation and just going to see the Taj Mahal, I came up with thinking that this really is a world of contrast when you go to India. And nothing that, pictures that you see or what you read about is going to prepare you for not only for India, but especially seeing the Taj Mahal. It's one of the most amazing structures, not only in just its amazing size, but the detail on just every square foot of that building is really breathtaking. But then you see that thing, one of the most beautiful things you're going to see, and then realize that it was created by 20,000 slaves. It took them 20 years. And that afterwards, the artisans, those highly skilled workers, had their hands cut off so that they could never create something or teach someone to create something so beautiful. Again, it could never be mimicked. So to see that world of contrast right there in one of the most recognizable structures on this earth, of the pure beauty, and then is that really beautiful that it was created in such a horrible way? And then you step out of that area after you see the Taj Mahal, and there's a little 5-year-old carrying his naked baby brother asking you for money. And right there, that was India in a nutshell for me, where you're going to see things that are some of the most forward-thinking things in the world, where you feel inspired by it, and then you feel almost embarrassed that you've never seen something so horrible.
Yeah, so India was my first experience kind of traveling abroad with the Kelley School. It was the first international trip I took with business school kids. I'd been to Germany before my junior year of high school, but that was the only other time I'd been out of the country. But it completely shaped what I do now, like how I look at the world. And we can sit up here all day and explain to you how much it's going to change your life, but you will not understand until you step off that bus or step off that plane, walk out of that airport, and you just kind of stand there and you just kind of look around. It just blows you off your feet. So you should just know that you're so extremely lucky to have this opportunity. And I think it's just such an eye-opening experience, and it's really going to change how you look at the world and kind of where you go from here, whether it's the rest of college or the rest of your life. So,
yeah, I think to add on to what Jess was saying, it is, the stuff you see there really does change your perspective and broadens your horizons. And I think, one, it helps you sort of grow on your own. I think it was one of the experiences that really pushed me forward in college. And I think other people know that this kind of an experience can do that. So I think it's very valuable in terms of not to go from all the emotional stuff they're talking about to business stuff, but it's a great experience in terms of looking for employment or getting involved on campus or whatever, because other people understand the sort of power that an experience like that can have and the impact it can have on you. And they understand that your horizons really have been broadened, and it's a great way to connect with other people who are, maybe from India or have also been to India, because you all understand sort of the same thing. So I think it does have a big impact on you, and it will affect you, for the rest of your college career, and we'll talk more about that specifically later, but yeah.
We discussed a lot about just kind of how going to India changed our perspectives, and the story I like to tell is that we had to take a couple different medicines before we went to the trip, right? I think there was one for influenza or something we had to take every day, and one day I took that pill on an empty stomach while we were there, and so I started feeling really nauseated, and so I was with Daryl Nair on the bus, and he was just chatting with me to try to distract me from my tummy ache. And then from the bus, you could see all these beggars and these people begging for money. Some of them had lost their hands or their feet. And it was kind of a jolt for me to think, okay, here I am whining about a tummy ache when there are people suffering so much. And especially to be in an air-conditioned bus going through the dingy streets of New Delhi, I kind of feel like, as Nick alluded earlier, kind of embarrassed about how privileged that we were compared to these people, and how we were in this ivory tower kind of observing things. So I know a lot of people kind of had a good experience going out and really experiencing India and really getting out there and pushing up their comfort boundaries, and I think I did too. So when you allude to perspective and really shaping our views, again, you're not really going to understand that until you go, but that's just one of the ways that it really hit me.
Mm-hmm. And kind of the background of why we're talking about this first was something that we talked about in our initial meetings about, like Allie, I grew up in Northwest Indiana in a suburb of Chicago that Luke is going to make fun of me for saying. But so
It's not a suburb.
going from there, and your parents, your teachers,
Now his accent's going to get stronger. Just so
Chicago, in Disney
Chicago.
movies, they tell you that, one person can make a difference. And it's so cliche. You're one person, one vote, one vote counts. And you really think, yeah, okay, whatever, that's, a big load. But then when you go there and you realize that the hotel that you're staying in, which is going to be extremely nice, it was for us, how much it costs to stay in there for one night is about the average salary of per capita in India.
But for us, it's very cheap. I
Yeah.
mean, as far as like,
And so I think, and Allie talked a lot about this, maybe you want to touch more on it, but you really think you can make a difference.
oh, that was, I mean, and a lot of you may feel this way too. I know a lot of my friends and I, when we got back from India, it was kind of like earth-shaking how much I changed when I was there for a 10-day trip. I came back and like my whole perspective was different, and I wanted to like go out and do good things and make a difference in people's lives. And I think the thing that really attracted me, and you may feel this when you get back too, is when I came home, I was like, I'm moving there. Like for a time in my life, I want to live in India. Like it's a place where you can absolutely see a tangible difference that you're making. You can say, okay, I'm going to work with this microfinance company, which you guys I'm sure know about. Yes. No, yes, okay. So I mean, I can work with this microfinance company, and I can help, X number of families be able to sustain their lifestyle, be able to feed themselves and their children, and I can be the person who's facilitating making their lives better. I can be the person who is really, truly getting my hands dirty and making a difference. And it fires me up so much to think about being able to do something like that. And you guys have such an incredible opportunity to be able to see firsthand how you can make a difference, because it's easy to look at the Disney movies and say, okay, yeah, one person can make a difference. But when you're there, you can. Like, you absolutely, that is a place where you can go there and make big things happen for people. And that's the best thing about the trip for me, is that it really was inspiring, I guess, for me to really know that I can go out and do things that can be good for the world, I guess. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's a little cliche.
Yeah. And talking about how you can make a difference, so much of what we're alluding to is just how our perceptions change. Not only about how the world views us, or us individually as Kelley students, or us just individually as Nick or Allie, but also how you see the world. And that was a huge thing for us.
Good transition.
Thanks.
Yeah, I've
been working on my segues,
Kelley
so
education, everyone.
they're going to be extremely smooth.
stood in front of me.
I didn't even realize it. I looked down and was like,
Oh, moving on. Next bullet point. Wow.
Jack, you
Blown
want to
away right now.
I think what Jack's saying, Jack has a really good story about this. I think. You wanted to talk
Transitions?
about.
No, but go ahead, seriously.
Oh, he was
I'm
serious
waiting.
again.
We can wait this out. But all right, so you guys can all make fun of me. It's no big deal. Really, like, just going there, and again, like, the embarrassment that I felt. I didn't want to be seen as some, cocky, smart. Every opportunity is thrown to me, and you're just an American there, just visiting for 2 weeks. And it's really hard. You're going to feel that at some point where you've been so privileged, no matter what your background is, and coming here to Kelley. You'll see kids, 30 of them in a room, not even a tenth the size of this room, and they're trying to learn English. And they're sitting on a dirt floor. That's education for them. They never had the preschool, kindergarten experience that we had. And just the opportunities that are given to them, it really throws things into perspective. How much you should really be doing, and how much if you're, don't take these years of education or your career path, you don't take it seriously, how much of an opportunity and how much of your gift are you wasting?
Wow.
Deep.
Follow that one up. I think, I will. I think, I mean, it definitely just kind of changes your perspective, but I think the big thing I saw was thinking about India, understanding India from an educational standpoint, and then being there firsthand and seeing it firsthand. And you have this like image in your mind of what you think it's going to be like, and then it just completely wipes the board, and nothing is what you thought. So I think it's really interesting to see what it is on paper and then get there. And I think one of the biggest things I saw was, yeah, here we are, a group of kids, some of us smart, some of us just not. Yeah. And I was just really blown away by how kind people were, how nice they were, how excited they were to see us, to meet us, to talk to us.
Pictures with us.
Take pictures with us. Our friend is Mary is our friend who went on the trip with us, and she's really blonde, like almost white hair. Yeah. And they were so enthralled with blonde hair that we got off of the Taj Mahal and we like had to walk away because people kept coming up, touching her, and she would be like, whoa, get off. And then a woman came up and she was like, she thrust her baby at Mary, and Mary's like, I don't know what to do. So Mary takes the baby, and she's like,
they took pictures of her with the baby. They're like, can we take a picture with you holding
They
our
wanted
baby?
pictures of the blonde girl with the baby. So they're just incredibly kind people, and they were so welcoming and happy to have us there. And I think that's one thing that you can't really learn about on paper, that you have to be there firsthand to experience. So definitely changed my view.
And it's not easy. Just want to throw this out there. Growth, this is a huge growth experience that you've got ahead of you, and it's awesome because it's going to just, open your mind and open your eyes and just make you able to grow. But the thing is that growth is, painful. That's why it's so good, is because it hurts a little, So it's not going to be easy. I mean, there are times when, when you're going to be really kind of shocked by things and embarrassed. And I mean, I remember we stayed in a hotel that was the nicest hotel I've ever seen in my life. I think it was in one of the James Bond movies. And I remember we'd go into this hotel at night and I would just, I mean, I know we've said this a million times, but it was just so painful to be walking into my hotel room and knowing I'm about to take a really nice hot shower and sleep in my plush bed and all this stuff, and then these children are out here asking me for food, and it was painful. So I mean, just prepare. It's not going to be it's not, I don't think going to London and having a week, trouncing around and seeing Beatles sites or something. But I mean, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be awesome. It's going to change your life. But you're going to need to think. It's a thinker.
And there's times where you're going to sit there and you're really going to ponder it. But there were so many times where I just died laughing on this trip because you're going to be put in awkward situations sometimes. And they're talking about pictures being taken. I remember during class, all of us thought that he was the weirdest kid ever because he never talked, and now he's one of my best friends. He's all you guys are sitting down. I don't know if there's any really tall people here, but he's 6'6", and so we go there, and every single person thinks he's an NBA star, and I think his Facebook default picture is still him with these two really short Indian guys, and he's just way over him, out of his line of vision, but And that's another thing, everyone is so excited to see you. A big difference that I see also from a business aspect is that the Indian business person as opposed to the American business person is the humility. They're not going to they're going to be extremely intelligent, but they're not going to come off as arrogant or even very sure of their abilities, even though deep down they might be. And you get a firsthand experience when we met with students from the IIMB in Bangalore, which is pretty much the Harvard of India. And I mean, they get over 700,000 applications a year, 2 to 3% acceptance rate. So these are some of the smartest kids in the world. And meeting them, and they're asking us, so what do you do? They want to know about you. They don't care about what they're doing. Extremely humble. And that's something how I perceived. I don't want to come off as a cocky or an arrogant person, whether it's in a social setting or in a business setting. And dealing with people from there, you really see how you're so much more impressed by them because you know that they're extremely intelligent, and yet it's almost like they don't know it yet.
I think it kind of speaks to the potential of India. When we went to Infosys, which is one of India's largest companies, and their business campus could be in Miami. It was so plush and had green lawns and pools and workout center. It was a resort, and it was so interesting. The contrast between the campus and then the other side of the street, which was just, I don't know, open wasteland or something. But I had a strong sense from these business professionals. They they were confident. I kind of saw like more of a quiet confidence from them, and kind of an idea of the potential that India, as one of the BRIC nations and coming into so much economic clout, that there's huge things are going to be happening in India, and they already are. And I think they know they're a part of that. And being business students, to be able to go to India and meet people from Infosys, this huge, prestigious company, was pretty huge. It was a pretty great experience, and we also met really high up political leaders. I can't remember the exact title.
It was basically the Secretary of State.
Or something, right? Oh.
It was sort of like the Secretary of State, wasn't it? It was
So
like
Secretary of State. I think we met with the Prime Minister of Finance. I had food poisoning, but so I didn't go. But yeah, it was awful.
Who is the Kelley guy that we? Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
he was from here, and now he's like a big
shot.
Oh, yeah.
deal.
Congressman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we met these people who are a direct part of launching India into both the modern age and beyond. So it's really interesting to be here and now and see that process kind of evolve.
Well, and with that too, when we're talking about this, I know for me especially, and I know a lot of you guys too, this really opened up my like world to traveling abroad in general, and like really got me excited about it. And I've traveled to a lot of places since then. I ended up studying abroad, and with my internship, I was able to go to a bunch of different countries too. And so it really made me like excited to travel. But with the humility stuff that everybody was talking about, that's the most important lesson I've learned from traveling, is that, you know, people, at least in my experience when I was living in Europe, really expected Americans to be kind of like cocky and rude and loud and arrogant and just all those bad stereotypes of Americans. And I think that it was so impressive to them when you could honestly show like a real interest in what they're doing and be humble and just be excited and open to learn about all this new stuff, because that's the name of the game. That's why you're going, is to learn about the culture and everything. And so
Showing even the slightest respect for their culture speaks volumes to them. And I know even just saying hi in in Hindi, or being really respectful when you're saying like a religious thing, it's extremely, yeah.
I can't say anything in Hindi.
I can't either,
wish I
but
could.
that would have been a really good move.
I think.
Learn from that.
But I think just like Nick was saying, expressing an interest in their culture, I think goes a long way in terms of opening up with other people, and I think that's important in all traveling and sort of all interactions with other people. And I think that's something that travel does for you, is teaches you, how to interact with people that are very different from you. But you kind of realize that even if they seem very different, maybe they're not as different as you would think. And I think that sort of falls in this sort of opening up my mind, how I view the world type thing, is, teaching you a lot about that through your experiences traveling, and you'll see that definitely in India.
And I think this is kind of on a different note, but I think it definitely changes your view of the people around you and the people sitting in this classroom. I think, traveling abroad and going through this experience with, 40 other kids, 60 other kids, really bonds you tightly. And we've stayed friends throughout our 4 years here. And, these are some of my best friends. So you're going to have people around you that you may not talk to, you may not even know their name, but by the time you come back, they're going to be some of the few people here at IU that really understand you. And so for a while, when you come back, the reverse culture shock's so rough that really you just go towards these people because they understand you a little bit better, and they were there while you were growing and while you were changing. So,
well, and I know that like 20 years from now, if I've got some kind of a business problem that, like, I don't know, maybe Jess's magical business that she's made will be able to help me solve. It's not going to be weird, I don't think, in 20 years. I mean, granted, I don't let things get awkward, but can't you tell? but I don't think that would be. I mean, I think I'd be very comfortable 20 years from now calling Jess up and be like, "Hey, dude, how's it going?"
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
And I think maintaining relationships, like that kind of speaks to so many of the takeaways that you're going to get from this trip. aren't just from those 10 or 11 days that you spend traveling in India, but coming back, having that, again, that stark contrast of Indian and American culture, and then how that's going to inspire you and kind of change what you're going to do with your Kelley career and also with your business career when you go into look for a professional long-term job. But I think for me, as a sophomore, it hasn't really taken root yet. Maybe these seniors, they could talk more about their experiences with that.
Yeah.
I think that segue.
That was nice.
I just commented.
You should write a
Got
book.
some really good transition.
You really practiced a lot.
That's where it's at. Remember this for Target. Okay?
So yeah, India just kind of completely changed what I was doing with my life, I guess. I kind of fell in love with emerging markets. It's kind of been my passion throughout these 4 years. So I did India, and then the next semester I did the emerging markets program here, which is a newer program and really fantastic. You're in a class much like this, and you go 4 different places. And so I studied Croatia and went to Croatia over spring break, the spring of my sophomore year. And so just, a completely different environment, completely different world. Still considered an emerging market, but I mean, it's on a whole nother end of the spectrum than India. So just another amazing experience. Went with business school kids, some LAMP kids, just really great. And so from there, I studied abroad in Austria, studied German, lived with the host family for 10 weeks, and then spent a month and a half wandering around Europe after that. And so, I don't know, it just, I love to travel. I love it. It's, probably one of the highest priorities in my life and kind of shaped where I'm going now. I interned in investment banking. I really love banking. Had a wonderful experience, was in New York, and came back and kind of changed plans, and I'm probably halfway through the process to joining the Peace Corps. So that's kind of where I'm going after that. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, I think I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Thanks.
I think it does sort of affect your both your college career and then longer term your actual career, if you want to call it that. I don't know. And for me personally, I knew I wanted to study abroad after India, but it really sparked my study abroad. The India trip. So it was in the fall of our sophomore year, a little bit after when you guys are going to go. I studied abroad the following spring. And my program was really long. It ended in late June. And then I was in France. I stayed in France a little longer, and then I went to Ghana for the rest of the summer and did an internship essentially at an NGO in Ghana. So it really pushed me to do those kind of things. I actually almost set up, instead of going to Ghana, I almost set up going back to India and working at the nonprofit where we were hand in hand, but they wanted me to be there a little longer than I could. So I came back from India and knew immediately I wanted to go abroad, and I wanted to do sort of a service thing in a developing country, and that really pushed me to do that. I think coming back after my travels, and especially after India, it also sort of helped me in where I was going with my career. I was also thinking about banking, and I think it was a good sort of time to step back and think about what I really wanted to do, and I decided consulting was more my thing, and partially because I like travel, partially because there's a lot of opportunities in that industry to work with big businesses, but at the same time use your business skills to help governments or nonprofit organizations, and get to do it in lots of different places. And so that was exciting for me and something that I decided to do after India. Trying to think what else. I think it really did help. Short term in my college career, sort of helped me lay a path for myself, and then longer term, it helped me sort of decide where to go for the next 4 or 5 years of my life.
I'm a lot like Jess. Travel is my biggest passion. I will save all my vacation days so that I can make sure that even though I'm going into the real world in like a minute, I have to keep that in my life because it's what I'm passionate about. It's what gets me excited every day. So that is a big part of it. And India showed me that because I didn't know. I mean, I traveled a lot within the U.S., but there's a big difference between traveling around within your country and really getting to immerse yourself in other cultures. So after India, I came back and I actually pushed and pushed and pushed really hard for this internship because I knew that it involved international travel and I wanted to do it. And I paid for school myself, so like I didn't have like a whole lot of ability to like get my mom to help me do things, for instance, because she likes to not let me go places. So so I really pushed for this internship, and I actually got to go to Sydney and Tokyo with my internship, which also just did nothing but like get me even more excited about traveling. And then I decided to study abroad, and I went to Maastricht. It's in the Netherlands, and it's wonderful, and it's a really great program. But yeah, so then, and I got to go to, I think, 17 different countries while I was in Europe because I just spent every weekend traveling. I lived out of a backpack. It was awesome. And so, you know, that's, I think, it showed me how much I love it. And now, even though I did all that traveling, you know, when I came home, I was like, it's going to be nice to just relax for a minute, not have to be, you know, gone every weekend, be in one place for more than 4 days at a time. Maybe that'll be nice. And after about a week, I was like, so where can I go? Like, what's going on? You know, so it's just, I guess you get bit by that travel bug. So look forward to that. But, you know, so in my life, I guess I'm going to work for Johnson & Johnson. So it's a pretty big company, and I'm hoping the program that I'm in is a sales leadership program. And so I'm, for the first 18 months, going to be doing a lot of training and learning and selling, but still it's kind of more in a training capacity. And then after that, I get assigned to my permanent post, and I'm absolutely going to push for an international post because it's a big priority in my life that at some point for an extended period of time I live overseas. So that's, I mean, and really India started all of this for me. I was perfectly content to move back home to a suburb in Northwest Indiana right outside Chicago and and you know, be where my family is and that sort of thing. And now it's a very different thing. My family has all stayed in Northwest Indiana, and they're kind of all blown away that I'm not freaking out about moving to Florida. And I'm like, it's just Florida. Like, it's not, you know, I mean, it's not that far away. It's cool. So I don't know. India definitely set all that in motion for me.
Yeah. And me too. Like Allie, I definitely want to work abroad. And coming into IU, I always knew that I wanted to study abroad, and I think India just kind of sealed that. So I studied abroad in Denmark, Copenhagen, Denmark, which always gets mixed up with Netherlands for some reason, like Dutch and
is a
Danish.
lot cheaper.
I don't know. I don't know about that, but it sure felt expensive. Then again, the euro and the kroner were pretty good when I was there. But anyway, so I stayed with the host family the entire time, and I'm an only child, so I really wanted kids in my family. So there was a 10-year-old girl named Cecilia and an 8-year-old boy named Jonas, and they were just learning English, so I got to like help them with their homework. And then every single night at dinner, I would talk to my host parents, Annetta and Torben, and we just talk about politics and healthcare. And you know, Obama had just gotten elected, and everyone across the world seemed to be so ecstatic about that. And Danes are very straightforward people, and they would, when I'd meet someone, they would start talking to me about Obama and or criticizing Bush, and like, I vote for Obama, just leave me alone. But it was really cool to get the perspective from just dinner conversations every night with my family. And I wanted to make the point that between going to India and studying abroad, I think you'll probably start getting a sense that there's more than just an American point of view out there. I think we kind of get into the mindset that the way we do things here in America is the way, when it's just the American way. And countries all over the world approach things so differently than we do. And I try to stay really open-minded to that and really accepting of different political mentalities and different government mentalities. And so I was in Denmark when people were started talking about the whole healthcare thing and, you know, freaking out about socialism. And here I was in Denmark, a pretty socialist country, and saying, oh, it doesn't seem so bad here. I don't know what you guys are talking about. So yeah, and after being in Europe and traveling a bunch, I decided that I really wanted to work abroad too. And I just found out that the company I will be working for just acquired a company in London. So I was like, yes. So I think this is the sign that they're just starting to move more international. So it could be a perfect time for me to step in and work in Prague or Paris or something. So I'm really excited about that. And so speaking of just studying abroad and stuff, like, definitely do it. I mean, I've never met a person who regretted studying abroad, and the only people I've met who regretted anything were the people who didn't study abroad. So So do it. It's pretty awesome.
I'm in debt up to my eyeballs, and it's worth every penny. I'm serious. Even if you can't afford it, do it. Make it happen. Seriously, I couldn't afford it. Do it.
I think, and there are some like very well-funded programs through IU. Like this summer, I'll be going to Russia for it's like a healthcare program, another 2-week program before I go do my internship, and that's completely free if you get into it. So it is very affordable, and this is the time in your life where you're uninhibited. You can go out and do those things. If we can just take a step back and look at this, between the 5 of us and our careers at Kelley, and especially these 4, we've covered the whole world in our travels. That speaks to Kelley, the opportunities that Kelley serves and offers, and taking advantage of that, and you guys being here is evidence of that. That gives you such an advantage when you're going to look for an internship, when you're being recruited sophomore, junior year. The firm that I interviewed with and I'm going to intern with this summer, they're kind of notorious for only looking at the very top selective schools. So going there and meeting kids beforehand, they're MIT, Johns Hopkins, neuroscience majors, and they're obviously extremely intelligent. But the fact that you're there, that's the prerequisite. When you get to that point, what can you talk about? What have you done? What have you done with your 2 years there? And I have best friends at Penn, at Wharton. They haven't done what we've done. Me and my friends and I here, our experiences at Kelley are unmatched by what they've done. Where we're going to work, where we've traveled abroad, the classes that we've had, and just the interaction, the network that we've had, it's almost untouchable. To be able to go into an interview and say, I was in India for 10 days and I experienced firsthand a middle class rising, because that's what's happening in India, where they have no middle class at all. To be able to say, I've experienced the social struggles of the female in India, and again, with such like an amazing amount of change from the business aspect, with that kind of economic growth, the social status of everybody, social changes are parallel with that. So to be able to go in there and talk about such deep things when all some of those kids are going to say is, well, yes, I go to MIT and I'm a double major, and on the weekends I go to the library and study with my friends. I mean, you stand out so much more. And I really encourage you guys to you're taking advantage of it right now. You're freshmen, you're going to go to India. Your friends across the country aren't doing the same thing. And to continue to take advantage of these opportunities, because it's going to help you not only as a person to grow and know more about yourself, but in your career, whatever you're interested in, it's going to help you so much.
You're more informed. The more you travel, the more informed you are, and the better your decisions are going to be as far
Absolutely.
as a world perspective goes. And this is, I mean, it's not only country anymore. It's an international world.
It's absolutely vital that you have this perspective. It makes you so much more marketable. It makes you stand out. It shows that you're adaptable, you're flexible, you're willing to learn, you're willing to push yourself, and that's exactly what an employer wants. You're going to be an amazing package, when you're interviewing for those internships. And I think, honestly, I never, ever would have had these opportunities if it weren't for Kelley. There are some brilliantly smart people here that could have gone to Ivy League schools that didn't. And I feel like I've gotten such an amazing education. I honestly I wouldn't do one thing differently. I don't regret one thing I've done. And I'm just incredibly grateful and lucky that I've had this experience. So please, it's a huge state school. Take advantage of everything you can, because they're offering you a once in a lifetime opportunity to go anywhere. And so just really take advantage of it.
It goes really fast, and all of a sudden they're kicking you out in 38 days. Yeah. So I'm just saying, take advantage of it.
And use we talked about how excited we all were when we got back from India to do something different and to sort of change our path a little bit. So use that momentum that you'll have almost when you come back to sort of make decisions about what you're going to do for the rest of your college career, and how you're going to take advantage of everything. And I think that's really important too, is to take advantage of the excitement you'll have when you're coming back and starting your sophomore year, to sort of plan out, maybe I do want to study abroad, maybe I do want to do some cool things outside of the classroom. And I think that's really important too.
I think I want to emphasize that, don't just do these things to put them on your resume, though. Sure, you go into an interview and the interviewer is going okay, Kara Findley, 3 point whatever GPA. So to India, and there's always kind of a double take when people see that you went to India. They're like, You went to India. How was that?
Yeah.
And it's such a silly, short question, and it's so hard to answer. And you better not just say, it was cool. I mean, it's just so much more. And
You won't. There's no way you'd be able to say that.
and I'm sure all of you have a reason to go to India other than just putting it on your resume. And it will help your resume, don't get me wrong, but just try to get more out of it than just differentiating yourself in interviews and get these other experiences that really help you grow as a person. And that growth will reflect in your interviews and will help you stand out. So kind of show it from the inside out rather than the outside in, because it's just a piece of paper. This is our talking points, but your resume, it's just a piece of paper. But what the experience you gain will serve you so much more than just your resume. So
It's a good soundbite. Inside out, not outside in.
Yeah.
thank you.
Good.
I just made that up.
Really good.
We are, yeah. I think just like talking about my limited viewpoint or my limited experience with interviewing, when I went out to New York and had a super day of interviews, so I met with 14 people. And you get really nervous at first. Kids are talking about, gosh, he was telling me to go about interest rate swaps and what's going on with Greece and the pigs and the Euro Central Bank. And I had 14 interviews. I literally touched on none of those things. Not that I couldn't speak to it, but they know that you know something about it. You're there, and if you don't, you're already there. You're sweeping through the crack. Them talking about those really challenging things was evidence that they didn't have impressive extracurriculars, that they weren't doing things out with their campus that they could say, I went to India, I did this and this, and talk about life. They couldn't connect personally. They had to connect with what was on the paper as, okay, you're a really smart kid. Tell me about your SAT score. Let's talk about that for 5 minutes. It really changes it. And
These kind of experiences turn it from an interview into a conversation, and that's the
Yeah.
goal. The goal is that you're just having a talk with someone, and that's what these opportunities that Kelley gives you, that's what it lets you do. I mean, that's...
Yeah. The
People
best
want-
interview I ever
yeah.
had was just a conversation, and it was amazing. And I knew I had the job because it was just perfect.
Yep.
So.
I think so much of this trip is not only, we're talking so much about afterwards going to change, but beforehand, like your expectations and what you're thinking. So maybe I could ask you guys a little bit about what are you writing down right now? What are your main takeaways? What are you thinking about after hearing us talk for the last half hour or so?
Oh, come on. We're students, too. Don't stonewall us.
Yeah, come
We're
on.
not intimidating at all.
I saw some of you guys writing something.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Like mainly like the whole like two different cultures thing and how like you're going there and like you live in America and like how lucky you are and like go there and it's like a whole different world so
Yeah.
like, experiencing. So I've like been abroad before, but I'm like really excited to see like the new like perspectives that have really been like more like a developing country, like more just like developed. So
I was thinking more like the humility that you guys talked about. Not only like you said in the business world with the business personality, have that quiet confidence that you said, but like also how, I don't know, just how everyone seems so friendly and you made it sound. So I mean, it sounds like a great place to be. So.
Yeah.
So if there's one thing you could have done to like really prepare yourself for the trip, what bit of advice would you give?
Sleep. Sleep a lot.
You will not sleep when you're there.
No.
I have one. I'm so glad you asked this. There's a book. Everybody write it down if you like to read. If you don't like to read, don't write it down because it's a long book. But it's called A Fine Balance. And it is, I read it before I went because one of my professors recommended it. And it's a fantastic book that really like kind of gets you, it's probably smart. Oh, I thought you were taking it from me because I was waving it around.
Oh no, I'm writing
no.
it down.
Harry Potter action.
No, but it really does prepare you. It prepared me a lot for what I was going to experience, and it's just a fantastic book. So that's what I would say to prepare.
Take a lot of Purell.
Oh,
I think
toilet paper.
coming into it, don't expect like, okay, don't worry about, oh, am I gonna be able to talk to my friends, my boyfriend, girlfriend,
Who cares?
parents? Like, let your mom know you're alive every 2 or 3 days. But don't really let yourself being enveloped by this culture, and don't come in there on vacation thinking you're gonna spend time on Facebook and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like
don't take
that's
your
just
phone, don't-
that's wasting such an experience.
I didn't talk to my
Plus, it's
parents
fun when
at
you
all.
get back. You got like a million Facebook messages. It's a
Feels
lot of
so-
fun.
Feels so cool.
Yeah, one thing I learned the hard way was that I miss my boyfriend a lot, so I gave him a call one day when it was like whatever time his time and whatever time my time. We talked for about 10 minutes. It was $6 a minute. So we had a $60 phone call. So don't do that. I always just say, like, cut the strings, just don't even worry about home, as hard as it is.
Break up with them.
Yeah. I'm gonna have a really good trip.
I got these Kama Sutra dolls. I don't know.
One of my regrets was that I got to India and I was so far out of my comfort zone that I got there. I'm like, okay, I'm in India. I don't need to push myself that much farther. But like Allie here was in the same boat. She'd never been abroad either, and I hadn't. And she's the one who went out in rickshaws and
No, we didn't. We didn't do that. We were.
You need to go on a rickshaw.
AJ, close your ears.
You absolutely need to go on a rickshaw.
Oh yeah, so I really wish I had done that.
Terrifying, so fun.
It's better than any roller coaster you've ever been on. They'll be going into oncoming traffic. You know, they're. Oh man! Pack 6 people into the back seat of that. Has anyone ever seen like what a rickshaw looks like?
I mean, a motorcycle with a basket on the back that you're supposed to sit in, like basically.
Yeah, I mean, it seats too comfortably, and
You'll have 4 or 5. It's fine.
Sitting on the
You guys are gonna have such a fun time.
So what about the converse of that? What about the bonding that you do with others on the group and
Oh,
the
good.
faculty?
It's just so important. I mean, it's just so important. These were, some of my closest friends now were on this trip. My first, you go to college and you have those friends from high school that you're so close with, and like, I'm sure you've made new friends now, but you'll come away from this trip with people that you're like, oh my gosh, these people are going to stay in my life for the next 40 years. Like, these people are going to be in my wedding. Like, it's that drastic. You change that much because you're just, after this, you're so comfortable around these people. Like, once you travel abroad with someone, I feel like you're never going back. So, and then just, you're going to become so close to the faculty. I mean, I can go to VJ for literally anything wrong in my life, anything I need help on, and he's always there. And Rosanna was on our trip, and then she took me to Croatia too. She was my advisor there. So she's not here at IU. She's working elsewhere, but we still stay in contact, I'd say, monthly emails. So, I mean, they're just so supportive, and you become so close with them that they become mentors, not just professors. They're it's a personal connection. They're real people. You find out they're real people. They're not just your teachers. So it's always interesting.
You get callous on everybody and bring it back from the nice, warm, fuzzy things. You get really good letters of recommendation when you really know the professors. So I mean, and that's like a lot to do with I got really close with Professor Prankert. He was my he was my what was it? He was my chaperone. Didn't you guys call him chaperones? Made us laugh a lot. But but yes, I mean, we got really, really close on the trip, and like I babysit his kids, and he's written me like 17 letters of recommendation, and never complains about it. It's amazing the relationships you can make with professors in this situation that you can't. There's really not another setting that would be conducive to becoming that close with a professor. So you guys are making good choices.
I play basketball with Luke all the time and embarrass him at the hyper. And then like with people on the group, like there's people probably like 2 guys that I didn't know before taking the class, didn't really meet them during the class, and then going there, they're 2 of my best friends right now. Go out, I see them on a bi-weekly basis. But it really is like, it's amazing to be able to see like just like when you go through that kind of experience together, whether it's with your family or friends, you're going to grow closer. And that, at night you go out and you experience that. But like everything, it does bring you closer. If I could like say one thing about that, like I think our group, something I was a little upset about was that we were pretty cliquish. Would you say that, VJ? Like where we did kind of have like a couple people or a couple groups. I wish there was more. There was a good amount of interaction.
Nothing. Sorry.
But like you really you don't want to, if you have a group of friends right now in this group or in this class, like really branch out from that, because there's so many people in this room that like you're going to want to know, and more likely than not, you're going to be in their class, you're going to be in their group for case competitions, in I-Corps, and whatever you do here at IU, you're going to see these people around so much.
I see a softball kid literally every day I'm in the business school.
At least one. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my target group right now is 4 to 5 members went with me to India. and in my I-Corps block next year, about 7 people. So like you're going to be around them.
Yeah. I had a soft black kid in my I-Corps group.
Yeah, two kids from the trip were in my I-Corps group too.
So.
Yeah, I think it starts off, like they were saying, it's sort of the first, I guess, community feel that you get from IU, at least for me it was, and that continues on with, whether it's the business honors program or whether it's, organizations you get more and more involved with, but I think it really plugs you into IU, and both with the faculty and staff and with your peers. I think it's a great way for that to happen, and you guys are really lucky that you have that so early in your college career. You'll feel a part of IU.
I remember we came back, and my best friend here, she didn't go on the trip, but she got so mad at me because she said the soft black kids were taking over Kelley because we hung out together, we went out together, we were in the business school together, we like traveled in packs. It was like wolf pack.
It's a gang.
Yeah.
You'll be initiated afterwards.
Yeah.
But,
and we're pretty much the coolest people in Kelley, so I mean that makes it easier.
I think I just like thinking about like all the experience I had over there, and some of the things that really stand out. We were talking about the rickshaws and kind of getting a little less serious, but like the traffic there is like that's something you need to prepare yourself for.
Your bus experience.
Bring books to read or
bring books to read
crosswords or something.
Do journaling, learn how to write on cars because you'll be in the bus a lot, and that's another like thing you'll bond with people. I know one time like we were at a busy intersection and there was 2 rickshaw drivers who were, like they were blocking each other. One was in a taxi cab, and they legitimately got out of their cars and went to fisticuffs. It was like Anchorman. There was a guy with a grenade, and they were just boxing, and it was like people are getting around, they're watching, standing on cars. Babies are like being held up to like watch this. It's like fight night, and I think it was on cable TV in India. But they fought for like 5 minutes. VJ went and broke it up, just tossing people left and right. But I mean, did you expect that? We sat there for 30 minutes watching, primetime UFC fighting in the middle of an intersection. So you literally have to roll with the punches. You might be on the bus. I'm just full of puns.
Wait, do you remember the traffic jam we got in for like 8 hours? No, it wasn't 8 hours. It was like 4 hours.
We were coming back from the Taj Mahal, and they don't let trucks in Delhi. They don't let semis can't be in Delhi during the day. So at like 10 p.m. they're like, all right, all you guys can like head on through, and like we got to Delhi right as they like opened up the floodgates for all the trucks.
It's like,
so like we were like,
it's like 20 cars across.
We're like almost back, and then like we like get to Delhi and it's just like stop, like so. I think it's supposed to be like a 4-hour bus ride or something like that to Agra, and it was like 8 or maybe longer.
We ramped over the median.
Yeah, and like
we detoured over the median. We were all like napping, and then all of a sudden we were like, and everyone was like, we're on the wrong side of the street, 1. We're going towards oncoming traffic, 2.
Tour bus.
What is happening?
Big bus, tiny cars in India. I'm sure we would have been fine.
They do not.
We would have won the fight.
When we were stuck in a traffic jam, and again, like a lot of people that are really excited about American culture, and they'll try and make you feel more comfortable as much as they can. But our guide, maybe something that got a little annoying. He had a Michael Jackson CD, and so we can listen to one song and do the Thriller, like the half the dance you know, and then 8 hours of it on loop, and you are just going crazy. You're dreaming about Netherland Ranch, and it's awful. But that was one of the funniest things. Just like everybody
Stop. It's non-stop.
And so you just have to, just make the most out of it. We were stuck in traffic jams. I mean, I like to listen to myself talk. Everyone else doesn't really. So I would just grab the microphone and start doing stand-up comedy on the bus.
Like he's doing right now.
Yeah. And I mean, definitely work on some stand-up material. Just be able to enjoy yourself. You're gonna be around each other a lot.
I had a quick question. I was really intrigued by Jessica's comment about reverse culture shock. Maybe could you talk a little bit about it, and maybe all of you could talk about what was the reverse culture shock you experienced?
I think probably India was my worst reverse culture shock. I've never had culture shock going somewhere, but coming back from India, maybe because it was my first time abroad, maybe because I got so close with the people there. Maybe just because it was such a cultural difference, that's why it was so bad. But yeah, you come back and you're just kind of like almost lost. You're just like, oh, where do you go from here? Because you've changed so much, and you come back and no one around you has changed at all. And you try to explain how you've changed and the experiences that you've had, but I mean, no one really gets it unless they were there. So it's kind of like you're kind of just lost. You don't really know where to go, and so you kind of have to find your place again as a different person. And so, yeah, and so I definitely did that, and I traveled more, and you know, that's kind of how I figured out who I was as a person, like where I was going in life, and then. And it helps to have like the support system around you, like these people, because I mean, even though you may not be talking about India, they still can relate to you better than a lot of other people can. So yeah, India, it was rough coming back. So
yeah, I would agree. I think like Jess said, it was the biggest culture shock she had. Same for me, and you know, I had gone abroad before that. I spent like a summer where I wasn't allowed to speak English, and I was like doing French, and like that wasn't as big. And then after India, I went to France and then Ghana. So you know, again, I was in a developing country, and I was abroad for like 9 months, and like I was still like, India was worse. Like, or in terms of you know, the amount of sort of the impact you felt coming back to the U.S. I remember, you know, like sitting, I don't know, in my house and like looking at it. Like, because it was like Thanksgiving right when we got back, so we all went home. We weren't in Bloomington, and I was sitting there and sort of looking out at my front yard or something like that, and remember like feeling like again like we were on the bus so much you were looking out the window, and I remember looking out the window and being like, if I was in India right now, there'd be like 100 people like without homes, you know, living basically on the side of the road. And it was just so weird to me that, you know, there's nothing like that in the U.S. And it just took a long time to sort of get back up to speed after coming back and sort of figure out, like they were saying, where you're going now. I don't know. It was definitely much more culture shock than I'd ever had before.
Samesies. It was definitely the worst. I say it all the time too. It was definitely the worst coming back from India than anywhere else. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that it was Thanksgiving, and I came back with a lot of guilt from India. Like I felt like I needed to do something to make it better. Like, and then I come back and I get home, my mom cooked me like big steak for dinner because, you know, I couldn't have beef the whole time we were there. I just thought that was really nice of her. And then it's Thanksgiving like 2 days later, and so you're just gorging yourself on all this food, and I just felt so like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like it felt just very like, I don't know. And then the other problem was the time difference was, for me, sleep is very important to me. Like I don't function well without it. You guys heard what I said before I woke up when we first got here, you know, and I couldn't always tell whether I was just tired because of the jet lag or if I was like depressed, and so that was like making it worse because it was rough. Coming back from India was rough, but you know, it's worth it. But.
I didn't really suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. I definitely had a feeling of just like
medication for that.
just missing it, and it's I mean, like it almost becomes commonplace to be shocked on a daily basis. As weird as that sounds, like, you know, you're going to see something that's going to surprise you that you've never seen before, but you almost come to expect that midway through the trip. And that's kind of like the really exciting thing that I loved about it, was that I knew I was going to see something that day that I was going to be thinking about for the next 5 years or 50 years. Like, that was like the most amazing thing, waking up there and coming back and thinking, okay, today I'm going to wake up, go to class, work out, eat. And it's like nothing is going to be as exciting as what you guys are going to have for those 10 days you're there.
So study abroad. That's the closest you'll get to it again.
Yeah, like think about it. Not only studying abroad, going here for 2 weeks. Think of another time in your life when you're not in college that you're going to have the time and the flexibility, the ability to go abroad for 2 weeks, for 16 weeks, and to be able to just engulf yourself in another culture. Chances are, I mean, until retirement, like, you're really not going to have that amount of time.
This is it. These 4 years,
So
like
life's gonna suck after you
seriously,
graduate,
for the next
so.
40 years, your life is gonna be awful. So enjoy these 4 years because we've got 38 days to enjoy liking life.
You shouldn't have put so many seniors on the board.
We're a little bit bitter right now. Not the best time.
I start my job on May 31st.
Gosh.
So yeah.
You guys want to wrap up? Last few things?
I think maybe if we can wrap it up, really.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
No, go.
If you allow the segues and everything, just like the commonality of everything we've been talking about, really comes back to it being a world of contrast. Whether you're saying like going there and seeing firsthand how you can make a difference, and I'm not trying to get all Disney on you, but you really do see that it's tangible, palpable, and on a daily basis you see. If I did this or this, working with microfinance or working in this business, telling them, how to be economically sufficient, you really can make a difference from a business standpoint and a social standpoint. With your perceptions of the world, how you just realize there's a whole different perspective that you're missing out on right now, and that all of us were still missing out on. There's if you meet someone from another country or you go there, you just see like there's a different kind of perception of time. Social standards, ethics, and just the whole way that they think and operate. And then with that newfound perspective, that affects you for your Kelley career and your professional career, where you're being cognizant of that and knowing that there's those different perspectives. When you come into a business standpoint or any kind of situation, you realize there's a whole nother way to look at this that I'm ignoring right now. And I think the more experience you get abroad, and going to India is going to really help out here. Just knowing that there's another way to look at it, that's something a huge takeaway that you're going to be so lucky to have. And thanks so much for just letting us come in here. We've had so much fun just thinking about India trips. I'm about to send a mass text out to get everyone together again. But just thinking back to it, I really want to stress how much you need to just take advantage of it. And thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you guys.